Yeah, hello, hello, hello. Okay, yeah, I just had to do this cast real quick. Y'all didn't think I was gonna do this shit, right? I'm gonna do this shit, yo. I'm gonna go for a triple feature today, goddammit. So this one is called Why I Quit Being a Hebrew Israelite and also Stop Fucking with the Nation. Specifically the nation, the gods and earths. And that's kind of a different story, but I want to explain that in no amount of terms. You know what I mean? First of all, y'all know Fort Worth, raised, born in Missouri, moved to Fort Worth when I was 2. This is in the early 80s, right? And I got wind of the Hebrew Israelites, just like all kids get wind of whatever belief system they are part of, through my uncle, through like older people. Like my uncle put my old man to it, my old man put it to me. Like that, pretty much, right? So, my whole life, I don't eat pork, never ate pork, never stood for the flag, never believed in a white Jesus. I mean, never went into a church to worship nothing. I mean, my game been solid my whole life, right? That's why I come with such fire. It's the energy is so pure off you, boy P. It's for a reason, dog. All right, but know that, all right? So as a child, it had been that my life. And I was still, a rambunctious young man, dog. You know what I mean? I always say to people, as a young kid, I thought I was motherfucking the Terminator. I thought I was Debo. I thought I was the point man. I thought I was the jump out boy. All right. As a young person, right? And that following the Old Testament of the Bible, if you know the Hebrew Israelites, they be working on that Old Testament hard. That's all we read was the Old Testament. So as a kid, you know what I mean? I knew about what was in the Old Testament. I could probably quote a few things, but not really because I was a kid, man. Like I wasn't really trying to memorize all that shit. I was just a kid. I wasn't even trying to care. You know what I'm saying? So as a kid, you don't try to care about that shit really. But I followed it. I never stood up for the pledge. I would laugh at kids that had to stand up for the pledge during school. I didn't go to Christmas parties. I'd laugh when they would send me to the office when they have Christmas parties. I would be with the principal in the office like I was a kid that get in trouble. I've gotten in trouble. I mean, I would get in trouble. I would get into it in school. You know what I mean? I would be in the office for doing all kind of shit. And I also got away on a lot of trouble shit as a child, right? And also into my adulthood at things too, but I won't talk about that. I'm gonna say that it was the influence of just it was a freedom behind it that I really did like. You know what I mean? That I'm not like these other kids. It gave me a sense of hey, I'm a little different than the other little hood badass kids. You know what I mean? You know, saying that they gotta go to church and they eating pork and that shit stank like a motherfucker. You know what I mean? And what the fuck, man? You know what I'm saying? It was that kind of mentality that went into it as a kid. That's really as far as I thought it out. Like I knew the scriptures, the stories, not all of them shits made sense to me. You know what I mean? I didn't understand motherfuckers sitting in a well for all that time and not dying. Though you imagine it, but you can't see it. Right? Like as I got older and started really becoming critical of it, I was like, oh, I gotta leave this shit. This shit don't make no sense. Ain't nobody sitting in no fucking whale, dog, with fucking whale digestive juices, dog, and living. Shit ain't happening nowhere in no time of history. And if it happens all the time, if it was happening, then why is he the only motherfucker that did it? Who's the motherfucker? Jonah? Jonah in the whale? Why is it Jonah? Why is his ass the only motherfucker that ever did it? Because you ain't heard nobody do it since. Nobody ever came out and talked about doing it since and living to talk about it. Right? So it was that. And just all the other stories, man. Like, they didn't really make sense. And plus, you know, there were other families around and other people, family members, other people that I associated with that was down with other shit. You know what I mean? Like I knew some Rastafari's coming up. You know what I'm saying? Who didn't eat pork, didn't believe in white Jesus, none of that shit. You know what I mean? So it was easy for me to kind of fuck with people who was not on some white Jesus shit, right? So that kind of just allowed for me to just kind of droll like me, a smart motherfucker. As a young motherfucker, I would get the drop on your house, put lookouts around your house, go on your shit, rob your ass. I mean, if I could rob your house, I could pass a spelling test. You know what I mean? I could pass a math exam. You know what I mean? I was a smart motherfucker, man. So I needed to have shit made clear to me, or else it's a problem. This is how your boy P think, right? So to me, I always, when those real questions started coming up as I got older, I'm say like, come on. I say, once I really saw what the streets was about, you know what I mean? Once I really started digesting that, okay, this is what the fuck the streets is. You know what I mean? When you young and you growing up in the hood and you seeing the streets, you don't think of it the way you think of it until you start seeing the kids that you used to, the older kids, once they start pulling out guns, it's like, okay, the older kids, they not going to school during the day. They pulling out guns. All right. And they selling dope. You know what I mean? And the gang units and shit is coming down hard on niggas. Now it's getting rough now. Oh, whoa. I'm saying, so then your mind starts to question a lot of shit. Like, damn, what the fuck, man? Why is none of this shit addressed in this book? Why don't my book called the Bible ever address this shit that I'm walking through daily, right? Because I'm having to adjust to this and get with this shit. Well, this Bible shit, yeah, I don't really know. But this right here, this gun, this motherfucker pulling out a strap, these sprinkles of older kids pulling out the strap, hustling and all this shit, nigga. So, my mom was on some make money shit, at a certain point, and I couldn't hear it from the Bible no more. The Bible didn't speak to me no more. Not that it ever really did. I always had questions that I really wouldn't even ask the adults who was, really versed in the Bible. I got put onto the Bible, like I said, by my uncle who brought it to my old man. My uncle was very versed in the Bible, man, and R.I.P. to my uncle, man. You know what I'm saying? Rest in power to him. And he came into the Bible world off of the gang shit. He was a gangster. I mean, where he's from. I'm not gonna tell y'all where he's from. I'm not gonna tell you what gang he was down with. But from the streets to the Bible. And then he brought it to us. Right? I just, if a motherfucker can't answer certain questions. And plus, I grew up in the 80s. This was the time of black pride was real, man. Like I would listen to Big Daddy Kane. I would listen to motherfucking BDP. As a child, I'm listening to BDP, dog. Like they talking about God is black and he black and all this. I'm like, yeah, okay. I could see that. Now in the Bible it talks about a black God, but why wouldn't they put a black God in the Bible when they done, denatured so much of our writings? Why wouldn't they just throw that shit in there for shits and giggles? I would say. All right. I mean, there's some shit they would do. And there's a black God in the Bible. Feet of burnt brass. Have you ever burnt brass? Let's burn some brass right now. Let's look at it. Let's look at it online. How do burnt brass look like? Burnt brass. Photos. You hear this shit, right? Right, so looking at burnt brass, it looked like, okay, so somebody put up an image of a black Jesus. But if you look at burnt brass, it looks burnt bronze, brushed brass, bright nickel, brushed pewter. Man, it has sort of like a reddish brown color to it. So I'll 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 give them that, a goldish reddish brown color in some cases. Some cases it's, hold up. Okay, so somebody put a comparison. Brass and then burnt brass. Dude, that's still, I don't know. All right, dog. Whatever y'all say. If y'all say burnt brass is a black man, because like my old man, for instance, he black. He look black, like super duper black, right? And burnt brass, he darker than burnt brass, dog. But whatever. All right. Whatever y'all say. All right, we'll go with that. You know what I'm saying? But voice like a bunch of waterfalls and waters, I can agree with that. A loud black person. Black people be the loudest people on earth. I can agree with that. Certain things I can roll with. But this Israel worship shit, that is where they lose me. Because how can you worship Israel, but then you totally shit on everybody in Africa? Don't none of them ever fuck with Africa. They always try to distance themselves from Africa. I'm like, man, how is it that Africa got all the goddamn resources, everything that is the cradle of civilization? The first human beings weren't found in Israel, and they were black. It's just science breaking this down. The folks was black. You know what I mean? They weren't found in Israel, dog. You know what I mean? So just the whole concept of Israel worship, it don't sit with me. Because Israel is, when you think about it, it's just an imaginary set of imaginary lines on a fucking map. Some cartographer, a map maker, drew imaginary lines on a fucking map and said, that's Israel right there, dog. That's what happened. And then they put it into a book and said, okay, this is Israel. We're talking about on this map that we drew, these imaginary ass lines that don't signify anything. Lines on a map don't delineate borders. They're just imaginary lines that somebody drew on a fucking map. But they don't really mean anything in the context of a big ass planet called the Earth. But where them bones was found, that means something. Where the temperature is just right on the map for a group of people to come up out of a civilization and come out and be a civilization where the temperature is just hot enough and just at a distance away from the sun to where all this can happen, to where life can be created at and spawn at and be promoted from, like Africa. That means something. All I hear is Africa bashing through the whole career of they call it the Shem. Shem is the tribe. It's the tribe of Shem. It's like, all right, all this bashing. I'm seeing this shit. Like, okay. But it's not matching up with what I'm seeing. It's not matching up with the greatness and the opulence and the resource that I'm looking at. Africa got all this shit, but they so damn bad. Everybody want to rob Africa and use Africa as the resource for which they manufacture, construct goods, and then slang capital goods to America. They want to use Africa as the heart of the world in terms of economy, in terms of we're Egyptians. We're Egyptians. We want to be the original Egyptians. You'll never hear them talking about they're the original Israelites, white folk. They don't never talk about that shit. We're the original Chaldeans, Hamites. They go through all of the shit. They say they everybody. They'll never say they're the original Israelites. They ain't jocking y'all like that. They want to be black people from the cradle of civilization, and I'm wondering why. All right, just coming up in life, just thinking about shit, right? So it's that. Plus, you know, I just couldn't get with the concept of an imaginary being in the sky looking at me all day, mad at me because I don't know every word in that Bible. So he gonna be mad at me every day because I don't know every word in that Bible. As a kid, I used to think, oh, what the fuck? What if I'm a illiterate person? I can't read and I get shot? I'm gonna go to hell because I'm illiterate and I can't read. That's a fucked up ass, punk ass, faggot ass God, if you ask me. Right? If I was a God, I would be like, man, fuck it, man. You ain't had to read that fucking shit, dog. Fuck all that shit, dog. You know what I mean? It's all good. You go to heaven, dog. You good. I just couldn't believe there was a motherfucker sitting on a cloud in the sky, looking down at me, mad at me because I did not read the Bible today, or because I didn't know every word in the fucking Bible. I couldn't believe that shit. It just didn't make sense. The concept of imaginary Godism is what pushed me away from the shit. Now, as I got older, I got into, but I want to just say, so basically the gangster culture is what brought my family and my culture and our street leanings and ways that we have been doing shit, the Hebrew Israelite culture. And then similarly, the street culture is what brought me to the nation of the gods and earths, right? And that journey, that was a great journey. I really fuck with the nation of the gods and earths, man. Like, my brother, street dudes, man, brought me to the gods, right? Got us his lessons, actually. He was our enlightener of his younger brothers. I mean, me and my other 4 brothers, right? He was our enlightener, but he passed away. Now, the thing about this is, with the gods, man, I'm gonna say this. You got to get this pen, right? If you go through all the knowledge, wisdom, understanding of what the fuck you supposed to be on, you get all your lessons, you got all your 120, you right? Then you go and get this pen. Like, he actually got the real pen from the nation. You know what I mean? Showing that he's a real member, right? It ain't no games. And then, so after he got his pen, he was putting us on to the shit, right? But he passed away. I mean, so RIP to my brother side, man. So I don't have, me and all of his brothers, we don't have no way to show that we even really got through the lessons like that, because we done got through the lessons and we done built on other shit. We done, you know what I mean? We done shown our work in the community. I mean, I done built shit for the community. I mean, for the hood, for my city, right? Your boy P, he do shit for his city, dog. I done all kind of shit in the name of blackness. I done started organizations and been down with organizations that motherfuckers was watching, you know what I mean? Type of shit for my people, dog. On top of this behavior for the gods, right? Like, it's that. But all I hear from the gods is, no, well, you gotta have your enlightener. If you don't got no enlightener, and this and that. So I don't know, man. Maybe it ain't over with me and the gods yet. Maybe they'll fuck around and be like, man, fuck it. Your brother was official, so all y'all should be able to come with, because y'all for real in the community. Y'all represented, y'all respected the shit. Y'all been down with the shit. But all I hear is, no, you got to have your enlightener. So I don't know if the enlightener is going to be a thing that keep me away from getting my pen. But I ain't even really tripping on the pen now. As I continue to just educate myself and continue to move how I move, I'll be like, man, goddamn, I know more than what I knew then. And, of course, with the gods, it's all about continuing to add data to the facts, continuing to build and just bring knowledge, you know what I mean, that push you to a point of self-realization, self-determination, to where you moving at a pace, you know what I mean, to where you constantly elevating anyway, right? So I've been doing that. So if that's what it is, it's just based off the elevation factor that I've been doing my work, keeping my work right. Boom. I should be able to get my pen. It should be an easy thing for me. But I ain't chasing nobody down like, hey man, can you evaluate me, dog? And because my brother used to be down with it, he passed away and shit, and I was just wondering. Eh? I was just wanted to know, eh? You know what I'm saying? What was that? Was that Eddie Murphy? I was wondering, eh? I was thinking about it, eh? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I don't even, I mean, damn, do I want it? Do I want to go begging some nigga? Who would I talk to? I had to talk to Farrakhan. Look, Farrakhan, or somebody like, look, dog, it had to be somebody big. Like, look, man, yeah, see your boy P, man, this is what the fuck I've been on. You know what I mean? Do y'all want the honor of fucking with me, dog? You know what I mean? Or I shouldn't come at it like that. I would probably be like, man, look, you know what I'm about. Community consciousness before everything. So let's do this ceremony with that thought lineage as the root of what I'm moving forward with. All right. And see what somebody say. I mean, I don't know. But so technically I've never been initiated into the gods. That's the only thing. I've never been initiated into the gods because the person who would verify me to the higher ups and the elders and all of that shit, they not here. You know what I'm saying? But that's that. What I can say about Hebrew Israelism, man, is one more thing, because I know I get a lot of people in the comments that I've come across. No, brother, you can never not be a Hebrew Israelite. You're always a Hebrew Israelite, brother. You never. How can you used to be a Hebrew Israelite, brother? I just say this, man. It's one word, man, that I came across that really flipped my mind, man. I'm kidding. Dispensationalism. Dispensationalism. This is a Christian theology word that I came across, I'll say about maybe 8 years ago, that really made me say, damn, when I left the Hebrew Israelism shit, boy, I really knew what the fuck I was doing. You look at this word, man, dispensationalism. Dispensationalism. It's a noun from Christian theology. It says it's a belief in a system of historical progression, like the outlay of history as revealed in the Bible, comma, consisting of a series of stages in God's self-revelation and a plan of salvation. Now, if that ain't Hebrew Israelism, and if that ain't Christianity, and if that ain't Judaism, all of that shit all in one, if that ain't we waiting on some God to reveal himself to us and show us where he at, if that ain't, he said he gonna save us like this, and the saving gonna look like this, if that ain't that, I don't know what is. So all this Hebrew Israelite talk, it has another name for it if you did not know. It's called dispensationalism, and that falls right in line with Christianity. Same thing. Motherfucker running through the Bible trying to find some shit that make they shit work, make their narrative work. It's the same thing as these Jewish motherfuckers, as y'all want to call them, running through the Bible trying to relate, or not even, okay, well, it's specifically the Bible. I said Judaism, I didn't mean Judaism. I meant, what people call themselves, the original Jews, black Jews, this shit, and that shit, that type of shit, right? So think about that shit. Y'all shit is right in alignment with Christianity, dog. There's another definition for Israelite, and it's called dispensationalism, and it's also a matching concept with Christian theology. Now, if you know anything about being a Hebrew Israelite, Christianity, y'all don't even fuck with that shit. Y'all don't ride with Christianity. That's just how it go. Y'all don't believe in white Jesus, right? So, boom, they giving you a term that actually matches that shit. All right, so all this Israel worship that's promulgated and promoted through the Bible, and think about that shit when you worshiping a place on the map. You doing that location worship shit. I don't worship locations, and I don't worship individuals sitting in a cloud in a chair looking down at me, being mad at me all the time because of this, that, and the third. I'm too adult to think like that, right?